Hey man. Hey, well, how you been doing? How was your day?
Yeah, crazy, busy, but good. Yeah,
Good,
it's
man.
good.
Yeah. No, it's obviously always good to see you.
Yeah,
It
it's good
was
to get it.
we were just hanging out a few days ago at
That's
his
true.
place, and yeah, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you in is and talk about. Well, first off, I remember us talking about the Johnnie Walker Green
Yep,
15
yep.
and how much you loved it
Mm,
as far as probably best value
mm,
blended Scotch
yep,
that's high quality,
correct.
high-ish
Yep,
quality,
yep,
right?
yep,
And this just came out.
yep.
So I figured, why not try it out, in front of
Absolutely.
you?
Yeah,
I have not had this yet.
exciting.
I
Yeah.
just got it today. Not sponsored, but maybe if Diageo wants to sponsor me again someday, I'm not going to say no. Not going to say no.
It's limited edition, right?
Well,
Or they're saying. I don't know.
duty free Taiwan, Singapore, I want to say.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, all right. Taiwan is like the experimental area for the rest of Asia.
Yep.
So you see a lot of Taiwan exclusives.
Because they used to have a sherry, but wasn't aged, right? They had a sherry
They had
ages
a
ago.
black sherry.
All that's a current one, but they had before. I saw a bottle before that was in one of my friend's bars in Hong Kong. That was the sherry, but NAS, the Johnnie Walker.
Okay,
And he said if you can find this bottle, pick as many as you can find of
interesting.
some limited edition one.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean
Interesting.
that doesn't surprise me. Hong Kong, Taiwan,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Getting some
yeah,
weird, either duty free or Taiwan
yeah,
exclusive.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Probably duty free, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and of course, the other thing I wanted to discuss with you, and we're having a conversation,
Yep.
right? It's not an interview. Is obviously, I've been in the Philippines, Asia in general. Got 16 years,
Yeah,
right? You've been in Asia how long?
yeah. Yeah. So I guess 12.
12 years,
Yeah,
right? And obviously you and I lived in some, same place in the U.S. for a little bit,
yep,
but just being an expat in Asia
yep.
coming from the U.S. is a different
For
experience.
sure, for sure.
So I
Yep.
guess those two things, but other than that, I mean, just having a
Yeah,
conversation,
absolutely. Yeah,
right?
looking forward to it.
Yeah. So for people in the audience today or watching, we got my buddy Tim Hoganson. So Tim, so with the expat side, can you just explain a little bit of your background?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in small town Colorado, and uh, really small town. Like my town had 2,000 people. We had two stoplights.
And how
That
many Asians?
zero. Yeah, yeah. So agricultural community. All of my friends were had lived on farms and stuff, and I grew up um, sort of in the care of some of our friends. I literally grew up on a tractor and a combine, all these things. That was my upbringing when I was that was my my not kindergarten, but that was my sort of daily camp. Right, was doing those things. That's literally how I grew up.
Wow.
And
So like pretty much like the show Yellowstone in a sense, a
yeah,
little bit,
yeah,
like where
no,
they're in
yeah, yeah,
Montana.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely different. Very simple living, very simple life. Good though, good place, really good
Yeah.
people, and we always said it's a great place to be from, not necessarily a great place to. I mean, it's a great place to live if you're into just basic, straightforward living, but not a lot going on there. And uh, I kind of grew up with a very adventurous mom, and we were quite close, still are quite close, and she always would take me on trips and stuff to these hiking trips, these
Oh,
these climbing mountains and stuff with her, and so I always kind of grew up loving to get out and to go
right.
do stuff, and so at a very young age I was taking trips. Down to Mexico, up to Canada, across the U.S., all these things, and so I kind of grew up with the travel bug, and so it kind of every chance I thought I really want to move overseas just to see experience the world and do stuff around. And my parents let me move to Scotland when I was 18,
Oh wow.
and so I lived in Scotland and traveled around the world basically to do volunteer kind of relief slash missionary work, which was that was my um, probably one of the best educational things that could have ever happened to me because I really, I experienced the world. I went to Africa, Middle East, spent a lot of time in Europe, and obviously Scotland as well, and just really experienced a lot of really cool stuff. And that experience when you're that young, well, even today, I mean, it changed you as a person, right? You're never the same. So, but after that, I was like, okay, I need to go to university. I need to get a degree, something. But I had no money, so I needed to work for a little bit. So I worked for about a year. Actually, I worked for about 6 months, saved up enough money, and then I decided I really wanted to be an outdoor guide. So like a climbing guide, mountaineer guide, things like that. So I found this guide school in Santa Barbara, and so we split our time between Santa Barbara and the ocean, surfing, sea kayaking, all these things.
By this time, you're married.
Nope,
Not
no,
married
not
yet.
married. No, no. I was still pre-drinking age,
Okay.
um, and then uh, spent the rest of our time in Bishop, California, which is on the eastern Sierras. Super beautiful place. So we do all these things, canyoneering, climbing mountains, rock climbing, doing all this stuff. And while you're doing it, you're learning how to not only do it but train people to do it as well.
Right.
And so after that course, I decided, okay, I'm gonna kind of go into this as a business. So I enrolled in a university in Colorado, got us in Colorado, and kind of did a outdoor kind of focused program. So outdoor rec plus business degree. And then I learned pretty quickly that that's not a way to make money. And so, and then I also got tired of having what I loved, which is rock climbing, to be my job.
Right. Oh, of
And
course.
so I decided after the first year, I would change my major and do business and accounting. So then I did a double major in business and accounting, and then while all along, right, doing weekend trips, all these things, rock climbing. We'd go to Mexico, we'd go surfing and stuff. It was a very active, fun college experience. We did a fair amount of drinking as well, and then I got an accounting degree and business. And I went to work for an accounting firm in Colorado, and I had a good experience, but I was a shitty accountant, and they all knew it. But I had a really good kind of business focus and business concept, and so they put me in the M&A side of the mergers and acquisition
Right.
side and business consulting, and really enjoyed that. Had some really fun times in that side of the business, and like most exits from accounting firms, I went to go work for my client. So I became good friends with the CFO of the company I still work with today, and went to go work for them. And this company, the main focus was sourcing electronics in China and then distributing them to places around the world. So we yeah, I packed up, I got married in this whole process. I packed up and moved to Arizona, to Tempe, and worked for that company for about 3 years in Arizona, and then had a kid, so relocated to Florida with the same company, still work from home, and then after about a year and a half of living in Florida, I told my partners, I said, listen, I'm going to move to Asia with my family. I had two small kids at the time. And so we started this plan of moving to Asia and restructuring the company.
Is there a particular reason why?
Yeah, well, because we didn't really have much of our own proper staff in Asia. So we were paying too much, not getting the service we needed to. Felt like there was a better way of managing things. And it's pretty common for people that don't have offices there to have agents. So you never really know what kind of side deals getting
Yeah.
cut. And having spent a handful of years kind of back and forth between China, I knew pretty well there was another level we could get to. So that's when I said, they're a bit older,
Right.
and there's no way they were going to move. And I was young and eager to move, and eager for the adventure. And having lived overseas for, more than a year, I was really itching at the opportunity to get over there, and everything made sense from a
Right.
financial perspective. So, um, and I've from the first time I went to Hong Kong, I fell in love with the city. And it was funny. I was chatting with one of my mates in Hong Kong a couple weeks ago, and yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
We were talking.
Ooh, let's talk about this in a bit. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, nice. We were just talking about our first experience to Hong Kong, and we both had a very similar first impression where we both, and it sounds kind of dumb, maybe cliche, but we both felt like we were really home when we got there. Just the vibe. The city has a vibe to it. And I think a lot of people really love Hong Kong or really hate it, and it just works for some people, doesn't work for some.
Yeah. If you
Yeah,
have that adventurous vibe,
yeah,
actually, I think as a Westerner,
yep,
it's really fun.
totally, yep.
But you got to be open.
Yeah, and you got to be okay with the craziness, the dirtiness, and
Yeah.
it's a very busy city, and there's not a lot of space. So if personal space is your thing, obviously it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, not as I mean, Hong Kong is worse than Manila in that
Oh
sense,
yeah,
but it's
yeah,
still similar. It's busy, a bit
yeah, yeah, yeah,
grimy,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
you know,
Correct,
a bit of
correct.
crime.
Yeah, I mean there is, but it's a lot more under the table. You don't really see it as much.
Not like here.
Not like here, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's still very Asian, although there's still a lot of guns and stuff. The triads and stuff have a lot of guns, and it can be a bit dodgy at times, but only in certain areas.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's. But yeah, I kind of fell in love with it the first time I arrived and kind of engineered a way to get back there, and it's very successful to move over there and to do those things. So I moved over there in 2011, and then. You know, just really learned a lot about China and Hong Kong while I was there. Living there is a lot different, obviously, than traveling back and forth. Um, and yeah, and was there for a handful of years. Started another company while I was there with the same partners, software company, and was having a hard time finding staff. And you know, Hong Kong has transitioned out of manufacturing quite a while ago. Most of those guys have moved to China,
Right.
and so a lot of the people there in Hong Kong are finance focused or service focused, but not really engineering. So when we're trying to find people for that, we really felt like we had two options, which was India or Philippines, and so
Hard choice.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
You know, and all of my pilot friends that would always go to India, they say we stay in five-star hotels, we still get sick.
oh
You
wow.
know, anytime you travel in India, it depends on where you're going, but it's at least a day trip. You know, by the time you have the airport on both sides and the
Right.
transportation and stuff. So, whereas Manila, it's 2 hour flight, it's same time zone, same language,
Yeah, I
never get
think the
sick.
furthest flight for Southeast Asia would be Bangkok, and that's about 4 hours.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because Hong
Yeah.
Kong, you're within 2 hours.
Yeah.
Taiwan, within an hour and a half.
Yep. Yep. Correct.
I
Yeah.
mean, Vietnam is a couple hours.
Yeah,
Singapore
depends on where
is
you're at.
two,
Yeah,
three hours.
Ho Chi Minh's. Yeah, but yeah, and so it just everything made sense for
Yeah.
Manila, um, and so we, ironically, we actually had most of our staff in Hong Kong at the time
Oh,
was on the software side was Indian, because we couldn't find Hong Kong guys that could keep up from an English perspective
right.
and all the design stuff. So yeah, so we set up an office here in 2016, and that was great. So then I started splitting my time half and half between Philippines and Hong Kong. And then I just 2017, I kind of decided to pull my all of my stuff and make the trip over here. So moved here end of 2017. Although on paper I still kind of live in Hong Kong. I Yeah, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I you know always heard these horror stories of Philippines, that how dangerous it was, and because the guys in Hong Kong, you know, they have this perspective. Obviously, there was that issue when it came to there was that bus shooting. There was that
Yeah, the
that
one, yeah, the Hong Kong tourists.
yeah, the Hong Kong, and a bunch of them got killed. So obviously, Philippines got
Yeah.
really
Well,
bad.
two, but one, or, but yeah.
Yeah. So you know, really bad publicity from that, and so everybody's like, "Oh, you got to watch out." And I heard these crazy stories, and finally turns out super safe. I mean,
Yeah.
relative.
Yeah, besides pickpockets.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and obviously, like any city, right? There's
Yeah.
there's definitely crime in pockets, and there's places you shouldn't go, especially if you're not a local guy. And but generally, my experience here has been amazing. So
Overall, it's good. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, listen, we
yeah,
both lived in Scottsdale.
yep.
And yeah, there'd be places just 3, 4 miles down the
Mm.
road where you probably, I mean, it's not unsafe.
Oh, it can get messy fast, right?
It could get
Yeah,
messy fast
yeah,
if I mean, 24th and
yep.
whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Indian
Yeah. Yeah,
school.
Indian school can still be dodgy.
Yeah, it could get dodgy.
Uh,
Thomas.
Thomas, yeah.
That's where it gets really
Yeah,
dodgy,
from
right?
Thomas South, it gets
Yeah,
starts.
like,
Yeah,
all right, McDowell.
McDowell, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just really, I think, from our perspective, being in the wrong place at the wrong time, right?
Yeah.
You're there when there's some gang activity or something and somebody gets shot and,
Yeah.
and you catch a bullet.
And I'll probably be the one mistaken for a Mexican.
Yes,
So
especially
like,
with a mustache.
especially right now
Yeah.
with this ridiculous stash.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they might be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
why are you wearing red?"
Yeah,
Like, what?
correct.
What are you talking
Correct,
about?
correct.
Right. So
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting though. I think some of that gang stuff, I was listening to some discussion about the consolidation of all the gangs back in the early 2000s, and I think a
Right.
lot of that activity's probably died down
Oh, I'm sure.
because they've all been killed off, right? Yeah.
Or just international gangs coming in, right? So I mean, I mean, here, I mean, there you know that there's kind of gangsterish
Yeah,
stuff,
for sure.
but
Yeah.
it's more on like the gangs that steal.
Right.
They're just like
Right.
bunch of neighborhood kids,
Mm.
hoodlums.
Yeah, yeah.
God, I'm aging myself on that one, and that was
Yeah.
before our age,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But a bunch of hoodlums.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but there's no like that we know of giant organized gangs for crime, unless it's for drugs or
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure for drugs, right?
and
Yeah.
other things. You know, we have warlords here,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Correct.
which is
Correct.
hilarious.
Yeah, warlords and yeah.
Yeah, right. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I live in a place where there's warlords.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe not
Yeah.
in Metro Manila,
Right, right.
but you
Right.
know,
Yeah, yeah, for sure,
listen,
for sure.
yeah, what certain politician is a warlord or not.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's funny because actually not funny, but Hong Kong is super safe.
Yeah.
Uh, but I had a friend who still lives in they call it the kind of the countryside or the villages of Hong Kong. So it's new territories area.
Right.
And what you have basically these village houses that are maybe 4 or 5 stories tall, and you'll get a lot more space for your money, and you're not in the city. So if you're interested in a bit more peaceful, quiet lifestyle, and you want a bit more space, then it's great.
Probably take the train.
Yeah, take the train. He doesn't have a car, so train, minibus, something
Yeah.
like that. And he said what's happened is these guys are coming from China, and they're the sophisticated sting operations for stealing stuff out of people's houses. So they basically have these drones watching you,
No.
and then they're waiting for you to leave, and then they will use these drones to go in, somehow unlock the door or do something like that. I'm not exactly sure. And then or they pick the lock or whatever, but they go in, they stole like 5 Rolexes, a
What?
bunch of cash, like all this stuff. Yeah,
What?
which is unheard of in Hong Kong, if you know, because Hong Kong's super safe, right?
Right.
I mean, one time I left my bag in the taxi, had money in it, had my new laptop, all these things. I didn't have the taxi driver's number. I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have left. I never would have known. He dropped it off at the police station. Not a thing was touched.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And-
I've heard of a story. Guy told me.
Yeah.
He was in Hong Kong. He lived in
Mhm.
Hong Kong. Not gonna say the name, obviously, but he got super drunk.
Mhm.
Had to be like maybe
As you do.
8 years ago.
Okay.
$10,000, $15,000
Yeah,
watch.
yeah.
He got really drunk. He
Yeah.
got locked in a mall, but he was passed out watching
Shit,
sports
that's
events.
great.
He wakes up, no watch. His wife doesn't know. No watch, no other things. Of course, he replaced the watch.
Yeah,
without
yeah, of course.
His wife
Oh my god.
knowing, doing this, but yeah, I mean,
Well, okay, that's a bit different.
so
Yeah.
it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I would expect taxi cab drivers not to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because that's the last thing what they want to do is
Mm-mm.
deal with the cops.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
You know, good
no-
luck here though.
Another instance where actually my ex-wife wife at the time was left her phone in the taxi. I called the taxi. He was like, basically bartered how much money I was going to pay to get the
Oh,
phone back.
man.
It wasn't much. It was like 500 honky, but
What is that in USD?
so it's around 80 bucks, no, 75, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
it's
Yeah,
like-
for
yeah.
a $500 phone at the time, it's all right.
It's not bad. I mean, yeah, the guy that pickpocketed me the other day, if he would have said,
Did you make any progress on that? Or
No,
what?
I never heard anything, and I doubt the cops will ever, right? Or the
Shit.
barangay officials, or whatever.
It's too bad. Sorry.
But yeah, that hurts a bit. But if the guy
100%.
said, "Listen, you know, give me 10,000 pesos, I'll give you back your phone,"
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, of course. 100%.
And then, and what the guy didn't realize, as you know, my screen was slightly damaged.
yeah.
And right, it was going erratic.
Yeah.
Whenever.
Yeah.
And on the side in the corner, there was actually a slight crack. So the dude's not gonna get.
He's not gonna get a good phone. Yeah.
He's not gonna get he might get 4,000, 3,000 pesos for
Yeah.
a year-old phone. So that's definitely probably new, or used new.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, probably
yeah.
someone's gonna sell it for 20.
Yeah.
But with all that damage.
Yeah.
So.
I always get pissed off too when you know, because I work along Makati, right? So every now and then you see these guys hawking used
Yeah.
phones or like a used watch. I think to myself, you're a real piece of work, to do that, right? You
Yeah.
basically stole something and reselling it, right?
Yeah, and anyone that's had something stolen off of themselves, it's a bit. It's not painful in the sense that like you're hurt emotionally, it just pisses you off.
Yeah, it's a violation, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
really violating your personal space.
And it was for me, it was on CCTV.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I could
Yeah,
see it
that's
like 1080, right? I'm like, oh, you son of a, right? Oh,
Yeah.
I've still my sweat towel there. Hey, there you go.
Yeah,
So, all right, let's talk about some whiskey.
sure. Let's
All right,
go.
let's talk about this.
Mhm.
Then we'll talk about your whiskey adventure, and we'll
Yeah.
go back and forth. So,
Cool.
JW 15 Sherry literally just landed in the Philippines at SNR, intro price is about 293. I don't know, something like it. It's about 2,900 pesos. For people in the U.S., that's under $60. This is finished in sherry, so it's like the JW15, the Johnnie Walker Green 15, which shout out to my business partner Leonard for writing me these notes. It has a mixture of Talisker, Kauila, Linkwood, and Cragganmore. Okay, so take that, you finish it in a sherry barrel.
Yep.
And boom.
So it's the green finish and cherry.
This is what I'm gonna assume because
Okay.
it doesn't say otherwise.
Yep.
And I was looking at the thing. So apparently this was a Taiwan exclusive and I want to say duty free, but now I guess it's done well enough in Taiwan and duty free that they're expanding it into other parts of Asia probably. So
Cool.
definitely in the Philippines, but
Yeah.
you know, as we know, the Philippines likes it sweeter. It likes
Yeah.
sherry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a padding or
Yeah,
maybe
the-
that's why I got to
the
go back to
padding
the
makes sense.
I got to go back to a boom instead. So I don't maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to try this out, these little
Oh,
mini
they're
mugs.
nice.
It's
They're nice.
okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's why I didn't want to spend a lot of money. Just try it out.
Mm.
Anyways, I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the nose is. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I don't get a lot on the nose. I mean, it's pretty 40%, right? So it's a bit more.
It has a
muted.
doughy, like
Yeah. I agree
you know,
with
like
that.
what I expect out of Irish whiskey. You know, like if
yeah.
you, for me, Irish whiskey has a lot of doughy, bready, yeasty
Mm.
notes on the nose, right?
Obviously, the fruits and stuff are there, and
I mean, when you smell it, you could already tell you're going to drink something that's
Yeah.
something with sherry.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's still a blend, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a blended whiskey. It's not a blended malt, right?
I believe. Does it say?
Blended malt.
It is a blended malt,
Blended malt,
so
so
no
we're-
grain.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So no Cameron Bridge.
Yep.
So there's
Yep.
Diageo owns 2 grain distilleries, Cameron Bridge and I want to say I'm gonna mess with it. North British Distillery, which if you see a lot of the blended whiskeys, it's usually Cameron Bridge. So North British, I'm not gonna assume what they do, but probably maybe they're gins. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean,
This would be very interesting if they could get it up to like a 43 or 46. I think.
yeah, but Diageo rarely makes a blend less than or higher than 40 unless it's something special.
Right. Which is, I think, what's unique about the green is it's 43.
It is 43.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why they haven't switched that to 40 yet? Knock on wood.
Let's not-
I don't want them to
let's- yeah, let's not
happen.
do
You
that.
know, I mean, listen, Johnnie Walker Black at 43 back in the early 2000s.
Oh, interesting. That might be fun.
Yeah.
Single black or double black?
Single black.
Interesting.
That was interesting. Oh,
That was the standard.
yeah. 43 was a standard for the longest
kidding.
time. Actually,
Wow.
dude, I have something from the 70s, a Johnny Black.
Really.
We could crack that sucker open.
You know, I did that with Lee one time. We because he's a big vintage bottle guy, and we opened up some. I don't remember what it was, but it was a blended whiskey. Gosh, I'm forgetting them. Maybe I don't remember who it was, but some Scotland blended whiskey company, and we opened up one from the 70s, and then one from
Yeah.
recent, and it was interesting to see the difference. I mean, it's definitely palatable difference.
Yeah.
Same ABV, same everything, but just the difference in how they've changed their combination of grains and whiskeys and stuff. It was interesting. Yeah.
So, as you know, friends with the people at Old Pulteney,
Yep.
Faber, and right, old business dealings, and because we had the old Speyburn
Yep.
versus the new Speyburn. Obviously, you try to go with a similar flavor, but obviously a master distiller will put its own spin, even
Sure.
though they try to get as close as possible. And actually, so the head of Southeast Asia sales, friend of ours,
Yep.
he was saying that you got to remember also the grain yield might be different.
Sure. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because where are you getting the grain from?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Are you using the same kind of grain? Right?
Yep.
Because even with barley, you have different strains of barley,
That's
which
right.
have different
Yep.
yields.
Yep.
Right? Like
Yep.
even with bourbon, right? You have the regular corn stuff, the regular standard GMO, the
Yep.
feedlot
Correct.
corn.
Correct. Yep.
But then,
Cow corn. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of new corns, or not new corns, I say old corns, heirloom corns are starting to make its way into bourbon.
Yep.
And it's come up with a whole different flavor profile.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well, and you can imagine even if I mean you have different types of, you know, every year you have a slightly different climate, and some you may have a really wet year, and that's going to produce a different type of
Right.
variety to the grain. You know, the barley, stuff like that.
just
I
like
think-
grapes with wine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? I mean, this little
Yeah.
extra rain or too little
Right.
rain, and it's going to change up.
Or
sugar
even so much that you might buy the same grain, but it's from a different region. So
Yeah.
instead of buying it from France, you bought it from Belgium, and whatever. Right? So it's a bit different.
And even right now, what's going on with the war in Ukraine and Russia,
Yep.
a lot of wheat, a lot of grain, barley was coming from Russia. And listen, you people that don't know, the supply chain issues, a lot of the barley, a lot of the grain, the bread basket of Europe was really Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah.
That being gone, it's affecting everything.
And really Ukraine. I mean, Ukraine.
Yeah.
So, partner has an office in Kharkov, or Kharkiv, as you say now.
Kharkiv, yeah.
But
Is it Kharkov or
well, it's
the Ukrainian way?
Ukraine is Kharkiv, right?
Kharkiv.
Kharkov is Russian.
Yeah.
Because all those guys speak Russian.
Of
So,
course.
I mean, when I was there, everybody spoke Russian. I mean, they can speak Ukrainian, but the local language is Russian.
Is that east or west?
So it's right on the border.
Oh.
So it's right. I mean, it's probably 30 clicks off the border from Russia.
So this is probably Russian territory now.
They had captured it, I think. I mean, because I think I told you before, I was seeing cruise missiles go into the literally sidewalk where I was at, where I used to walk to the office.
That's crazy.
Fucking crazy, yeah. And then all of our staff left Kharkov, and then some of them actually, we got a bunch of guys, some of the younger guys out, kind of made a gamble and shipped them to my partner's place in Cyprus. So 6 of them, which they would all be stuck there now, because they either have to, because you can't, they put that law, anybody over 16, under 65 can't leave the country.
Right, because you have to go to war.
Yeah, exactly. So those guys got the free ticket out, and they're still in Cyprus. And then some of the ladies have moved back to Kharkiv anyways. But yeah, I think they've taken that part over, and then whatever.
Yeah, just
the Ukraine
ceded.
I think
like
ceded,
it's
yeah.
hard to keep land.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, if the Vietnam War,
Yeah.
taught us.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times the U.S. went in, bombed an area, took it over, and then ceded. Right. It's to
not
keep
easy.
it
Yep.
is like the logistics.
Correct. Which is Russia sucks with. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
companies, as you know, live and die on their supply chain.
For sure. Yep.
War of attrition works because of your supply chain.
Yep.
Germany didn't win against Russia, not because of the weapons and the people, but because winter came and they couldn't
Correct.
keep their
That's
people
right.
warm and fed.
That's right. Yep. Yeah.
Right? And I think that's key.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like it's hard to keep an area
Yeah,
and keep on
absolutely,
going.
absolutely.
Your supply chain is huge. Which supply chain major, ASU, what? Anyways, I had
So the reason I brought up Ukraine is or the Kharkov is, I flew into Kyiv, and then we took a train down, just to mix it up.
Yeah.
Took the train from Kyiv to Kharkov, and literally the entire time on the train, you're just cornfield, wheat field for like 5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it because I enjoy seeing countryside, right?
Yeah, of
so I
course.
enjoyed that process, and by the time you add in, airport pre and post and everything, it's kind of a wash and
Yeah.
just a fun experience to drive. But it was literally, you're going through kind of the heart. You're kind of going through the northwestern side of, not even down south, which is even more fields and stuff. But it's all basically fields. Yeah.
I'm sure you've noticed over time of us being friends was my affinity for politics, my affinity for history.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if a lot of those fields were built back during the Cold War was to kind of battle against the Americans.
Yeah, possible. Well, I mean, I think Ukraine's always been, because they have a very fertile land, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I think is very interesting is that, and you probably know this already, but when I was in Poland, in the late 90s, one of the things that they had told me when I was there is that they line all of the streets and mostly highways, or not streets in the city, but on the, maybe 2-lane highway. They'll
Right.
line them all with trees, and that's to hide the troop movement and to hide, movement of armor and
Right.
trucks and stuff like that. So it's very interesting when you actually go, and now that you see these things, it makes a lot of sense, because where they're fighting now in these trenches and stuff, a lot of it's in the trees, because Ukraine is really like that as well. You have all these farms, and then outside the farms you have these lines of trees, which is completely strategic.
Oh,
Yeah,
that sounds interesting.
yeah. So there's definitely something there.
Right. I mean, like the Americans use the supermarket
Hmm.
to sell all our corn and other
Yep.
grains because
Yep.
U.S. had an excess of corn and grain
I think the U.S. is the largest exporter of food in the
in the
world.
world. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we built this up. It
Mm-hmm.
was like the arms race, like
Yep.
against Russia.
Yep.
Oh, we got to build bigger. Well, we also have more food.
Well, yeah, and I think that was probably more dumb luck than strategic planning.
It was a bit
But
of dumb luck, but it was a bit like it was a bit posturing.
sure, sure, sure. Yeah. Whereas I think Ukraine is the breadbasket, especially of Western Asia, and Russia doesn't have as much fertile land as
No,
Ukraine.
of course not. Yeah,
I
I
would
mean
say.
the Siberia is right there. That's like half of it,
Yeah,
right? The
yeah,
Arctic Circle.
yeah.
But I mean, it's interesting how you're telling me about that, and you're hearing like now I get a bit more on why now we're getting to Russia a little.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why Russia wants Ukraine?
Yep.
I mean, besides their nuclear sub bases,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? That
Access to the Black Sea.
Crimea,
Yeah, yeah.
right? It's a food source.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Now, I'm not taking sides, whatever. That's not the point. It's just an interesting thing to hear. It's like how strategic Ukraine really was
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Russia,
For sure.
right?
Yep.
So,
Yeah. Pretty wild. They even gave it up originally, right? But just with the location, and it's quite a strategic place. But I suppose
well, even
when things are melting down.
pre-communist, right? They've always had a hand in Ukrainian politics, if not
sure.
even owned Ukraine, right?
Yep.
Even under
Yep.
the Tsars.
Yep. Yep.
Did they
Yep.
respect Ukraine or the Ukrainian people? Probably not so much. 'Cause
Yeah.
which even Catherine the Great, I think, even admonished Ukrainian people.
Yeah. Yeah. They've always been looked down on, right?
Yeah.
Which was a bit surprising, because they're quite hardy people.
Yeah.
And I would say that our teams there, as much as um, uh, they're extremely stubborn and extremely resilient. And so when people are like, "Oh, we're just going to run them over," I'm like, "You don't really
No.
understand the Ukrainians. Like, they're not give up type folks." Um, yeah, but they're great people, lovely people.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, I've met a couple Ukrainians, nice
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
lovely people.
Mhm.
I've never had any issue. I've met Russians, I've met Ukrainians, I've
Yeah.
met people from all over the world.
Yep.
I'm not going to say what people I think are douchebags.
Well, there's douchebags everywhere, right?
And there's douchebags
yeah.
everywhere. And as an American, I can safely say there's plenty of douchebag Americans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the ones that kind of travel,
Yeah, yeah,
a bit
yeah.
like, okay, that,
Yeah.
that nationality's a bit douchey.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
nationality's a bit
yeah.
more so than not.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, Ukrainian people, lovely people.
yeah, I mean, I think all those people in the Eastern Bloc, let's call it that, if we still can, they have a different set of circumstances they grow up in, so they just have a bit more roughness around them, right?
Yeah.
A bit more toughness. But yeah, yeah. Anyways, yeah. But so it's funny, yeah, like how that change in the balance of the grains is probably. I'm guessing that's exactly one of the reasons why whiskey's more expensive now than it was before.
One of many,
Yep.
glass, COVID, inflation, which is all goes back to COVID.
Yep. Yep.
Also planned because supplies have been slowly dwindling.
Mm-hmm.
So I have it in personal fact. I'm not gonna say the name. This was already planned to go up in price.
Mm-hmm.
Anything with certain whiskey companies they already planned on going up in price, and then COVID happened, so it made it a convenient experience.
Sure, sure, sure.
All of a sudden now, whiskeys has gone up 30%.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe 20% was planned. That extra 10% is inflation.
Yep. Sure. Yep.
Right.
Or just the opportunity because everybody else is doing it. So there's always that knock-on effect with inflation, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else is raising their price. Why don't we? Right?
Yeah. Now we're talking economics. Yeah. Why not? Right. And
Yep. Yeah, and I heard an interesting. I was talking to a friend she's a Japanese lady in Hong Kong, owns a bar, and she was explaining to me, and I'm very paraphrasing here, but how, and her and her husband are both whiskey guys, whiskey folks, and she was explaining how there's a lot of small distilleries in Japan, and how in the next 5 years we're going to see a lot of whiskey hit the market. So I'm curious as to see how that's going to impact the overall Asia market, because Asia loves Japanese whiskey.
They love, but they also love
the brands, right?
Yeah, the big four.
Yep, for sure.
3 of them owned by Suntory.
Yep.
Then 1 of them is Nikka.
Yep. Exactly.
After that, it's a huge drop off.
Yep.
Now I'm curious to see what happened, because have you met the former master distiller of Cavalan?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, Ian Chang, I believe. Ian Chang. I could be someone else.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah.
Anyways, he left being master distiller of Cavalan to go work at a startup Japanese distillery.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, there's the Japanese guys, they love their craft stuff, right? So,
They do.
It wouldn't surprise me that we have a lot more of those crafty type whiskey companies coming out of Japan.
Yeah.
In the near future.
Because I know there's a lot of white label Japanese whiskey coming out, right? They have cool designs, but you taste it, you're like, okay, what is this?
Yeah. Well, the stuff we were drinking was actually quite expensive, and some of those bottles were that I didn't drink these, but they were around $300 US per bottle.
Okay.
So I mean, you're talking more than an octomore for a relatively young whiskey.
Yeah.
And they're selling, which is kind of crazy.
I mean, what do you expect, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it.
So yeah, it's just interesting to see how the market's shifting. And it would be great to see a lot more demand it'd be a lot more supply from Japan for some different stuff.
I mean, I blame 2 people. 2 of them I've met. Both of them I've met.
Yeah.
One I would call a dear friend. The other one is an acquaintance. One is Jim Murray with his Whiskey Bible. Jim, maybe I'll see you again. I got to text you. I have your number. So one is Jim Murray. And 2, God rest in peace, is Dominic Roscoe.
Okay.
Right? He talked about Japanese whiskey. Even, I'm not sure if the book ever came out, but he was making a book, or he did make a book. Anyways, those 2 guys, after that, Japanese whiskey blew up. Like 2012, 2011, all of a sudden, everyone wanted Japanese whiskey.
Yeah.
You couldn't find them anymore. You couldn't find, a Yamazaki 12-year under $200.
Right.
That's a problem.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, which you can get it for like $80, $70.
Yeah.
Just a few years before that.
It's a really great okay whiskey.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I like it.
Yeah, it's a great okay whiskey,
Yeah.
right?
at $100, I'd have been fine at that.
Sure.
Right? I mean, what 12-year Scotch on average in the Philippines, in the Philippine context, goes anywhere from 30 to about 40-ish dollars.
Yeah, maybe a bit more now, but yeah.
Well, 40-ish, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, like $2.5, $50, right? So it's within that range.
Yep.
So the fact that this Japanese whiskey is double,
or even triple them, I think I had a friend that bought me a 12 on a special birthday. Won't name any numbers, but he paid $15K for it.
Ooh, yeah, that's on the high side.
Yeah.
Because locally, you could still find it maybe 12,000 to 15,000
maybe at the right
pesos.
place. Yeah, you're about 100 than most, but I think if the average consumer, you see it on the shelf a lot, it's in the 14, 15 range, right, which is pretty wild. So, but every time I go to China or Taiwan or wherever in Asia, even Hong Kong, those guys fucking love that stuff.
Ah, dude, of course.
And they pay out the nose for it. I'm like, there's so many other whiskeys out there.
Yeah.
There's so much better price.
So, yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about this whiskey, and then let's move on to and this is an interesting thing, because I've been drinking whiskey, 14, 15 years now. Now, my collection probably would be bigger, but I have also a big mouth. I like to drink my whiskey. Fortunately, unfortunately.
No,
But
that's great. It's made to be drank.
You're a sharing gentleman. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah.
But then how'd you get into whiskey? And I love his collection. I don't make as much money as you.
Yeah.
I used to be in the whiskey business until, I still am. But anyways, won't get into that. That's whatever.
Yeah.
So, all right. So at 2.9.
Yeah, it's really tasty. It's really it's a lovely whiskey, to be honest. I mean, for the price point, I think way better than what you're going to find with some of the average stuff that's in that range.
Now this will retail. I've seen it about average, about $70, 3,500 pesos.
Okay. 3.5. Yeah.
3.5. It gets
Not you bought it SNR.
SNR right now. New item
Yeah.
price 2,900.
I think it's a fair price at
How
that.
SNR works, because I have intimate knowledge in how they work, they will raise the price in about 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They usually get a discount. I'm not going to say how much, but they
Yeah.
usually get a discount if it's a new product.
Yep.
So to keep it low. Then in about 4 to 6 weeks, they're going to raise it up. Don't quote me, because I'm not going to say, but this will probably go up to about 3.2, 3.3 at the most. Right?
I would say for my taste, it's probably that's about the upper side of it. I wouldn't say it's.
Yeah.
I would say 3.5 is too expensive for that. Would be my.
I'm on the whole.
Yeah.
I honestly, I was offered from another wholesaler around 3.1 something.
Yep. Yep.
As a personal buy, I think that's still okay.
Still right. Yeah, I think so.
But it's creeping on the high end.
Yep. Yep.
I think, yeah, it's. And I'll say this over and over again, as what people don't realize is we have really high, we have really high taxes in whiskey, right? I mean, spirits, 40% up. If you pay $100 in the U.S., you could probably have to pay about $80 in taxes.
Right.
$80 to $90 in taxes. So
In the Philippines.
In the Philippines. So by the time you have it, you have $180 to $190 per.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Per bottle. Yep.
Per bottle. So we got to understand this. Once you understand this, you understand why. Now you also understand why there's so much smuggling.
Yeah.
And smuggling doesn't mean you're sneaking in your coat. It means you're not paying the taxes.
Yep.
That's all it means, right? You're not paying the proper duties. Now you understand why. So when something comes in legally like this, you got to understand why it's so expensive.
Yeah. You know, it is interesting though. I always compare because of my experience between Hong Kong and Manila. Hong Kong is also 100% tax.
Yeah.
But the price in whiskey in Hong Kong, like I always tell my close mate there, that look, I couldn't drink the same whiskey I drink here as I do in Philippines because it's so much more expensive.
In Hong Kong.
Yeah, same bottle.
Same bottle.
Oddly enough, you have these weird marketing tricks where Dalmore is one of them, where Dalmore is actually cheaper in Hong Kong than here, which
What?
that's an absolute mindfuck because they're owned by a Filipino company.
Yeah. Was it something global?
AGI, yeah, Alliance Global.
Alliance Global.
Yeah.
Hey, Kendrick. Hey, buddy.
Yeah,
If
it's
you're
crazy.
watching, hey, buddy.
Yeah, some of those things are a bit odd. But Aaron, for example, is quite a bit more expensive there. I mean, you're paying like maybe 75, 80. There you're paying 100.
Tier.
I know for sure.
Tier.
You're paying around 100. So you're paying
Well,
a fair amount more. Yeah, and
I did my part to make sure
Part of it's-
Aaron was good priced.
right.
Priced well.
And part of it is actually, to be fair, in Hong Kong, part of it's just the retail space price because every Hong Kong real estate prices are insane, and so that's baked into everything you buy. So,
Right.
So anything you buy, you have to pay the Hong
You have to
Kong retail
pay
price.
the Hong Kong rate because
Hong Kong real estate
the
price.
per square is
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
so much higher.
Super, yeah, 4 times price, right?
Like I met a guy through Leonard, my business partner, that he was using his secondary condo
Yeah,
as storage for his whiskey. Now this guy was a high-end whiskey dealer.
yeah,
You're
that
talking
makes sense. Yeah.
about thousands of dollars
Yeah.
per bottle, right? That's what he was doing.
Mm.
So it was like, well, he could either rent out his condo unit to someone or use it as storage for his high-end. Well, it
Interesting.
actually made more fiscal sense
Yeah.
to do that.
Well, I mean, and that's one of the jokes in Hong Kong is like your car in some of the places in Hong Kong, the rental space for your car is as much as a flat for some other places
Yeah.
because it's like that. Welcome to Hong Kong.
Welcome to Hong Kong.
I like it. Frank. I think it's a good whiskey for the price. I think it's reasonable for a blended malt.
Yeah, it's getting, yeah.
Yeah,
But
it'd be great if it was 46, 43. It'd be fun.
Probably better ABV, yeah, 43, 46. I would have loved this more well, I guess you have to compare it, right, to the regular Johnnie Walker Green now has reached about mid-2s a bottle.
Yeah.
So
2.6, I think.
2.5, 2.6,
Yeah.
depending where you get it. So they're keeping this about $300, about $6 more than the green, at least intro price.
Mm.
So I get it. I love the Johnny Green at 2,000.
Yeah.
I don't like it as much at 2.5, but it's still a high quality blended malt.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
You know, so yeah, that's that 20% more that
Mm.
went up.
Yeah, and I felt like Kalila jumped even more than that because,
Did it?
yeah, I mean, it's like 3.3 now. I was buying it for, or
Yeah.
even 3.9. I think some places you buy it. Some
Yeah,
is it?
yeah. So I think they're calling it their exceptional malts, right? That's what
Yeah,
Diageo calls
yeah,
their
it's one
malts,
of
right?
the
Their
yeah, yeah, yeah,
exceptional
exactly.
malts.
Yeah,
They've raised their prices
yeah,
significantly,
yeah.
so it makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, right. I mean, I was selling what Lagavulin 16 at the cheapest in the world at
Yeah,
2.799 a bottle.
I bought a lot. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I sold a lot. I made though that distributor a lot of money. Just reminding you guys, I made them
And a lot of bottles to disappear, right? Because you just move in stock. No?
hundreds of bottles,
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
that were just old stock,
yeah,
couldn't move.
yeah. And those corks are all shit. I can 100%
Yeah.
certify this.
Well, but
Yeah,
listen, you're buying it now. It's about $100 a
yeah,
bottle,
it's back to close to
right?
95 now.
So I think 50% savings.
Oh yeah,
I think we could say,
yeah, it's
what?
great.
Yeah. And
It's
listen,
great.
I got a lot of people drunk in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good.
I think we could safely say there's been a bit of a void left since I stopped
Yeah,
being
yeah,
a well, I'm trying to become a distributor again, but
yeah,
since that, I think there's a
yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So, all right, getting into whiskey, right? Because before that, I'm assuming you drank beer and cocktails.
Actually, no. I drank beer for sure.
Yeah.
Typical dude.
I mean, I had my first whiskey. I had my first alcohol drink at like 15. I mean, listen, I'm probably been the older side. I really was enjoying beer for the longest time.
Yeah. No, I was even better than you. I mean, I didn't have my first. Yeah, I had my first legal beer when I was 19.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
Legal beer because you're overseas.
I was in Czech Republic. I had the at that time that was the world's best beer. 2000. Sorry, 1999.
Something Praha, right?
In Prague, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Praha, yeah, or Prague, but yeah, that's I was in Prague, and
Privo Praha, I think.
Praha is that's local, yeah.
Yeah, you could get that here, by the way.
Oh, you mean that? I don't remember what it was. I just remember that was what they were saying. Like this is the world's number one beer,
Yeah,
and yeah, it was fabulous stuff. I really enjoyed it, and I did. But after that, I didn't really even drink much, even in Scotland. Um, Moved back states, didn't really drink, and then
a little bit of the upbringing from
oh
the
yeah, so I grew up, in a my dad was a pastor, and
right.
so I was never grew up with any alcohol in the house. Not that they were against it, but it was just more of an image thing. And
I mean,
yeah,
same thing with my dad. Yeah, he was in Vietnam War. Obviously military guy. He wasn't the biggest drinker. Had a few beers in front of me, but
yeah,
that's it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
How I became this
yeah, 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 yeah.
guy that likes to imbibe.
Drinking machine, yeah,
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I just like to enjoy life. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, it is what it is, right? I mean, but it's funny how it it transitions. No, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
So a little bit 19.
oh yeah, so yeah, just kind of dabbled in it, and and even when I was, um, yeah, and then I turned 21, and we're always just, but back then I was more like
Right.
my focus was rock climbing, really trying to get as strong as I could,
I
and
mean, outdoorsy stuff,
yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly. So you're drinking beers by the campfire at night, but you're trying to do athletic stuff during the day, and so you're not really crushing it. And then I got injured quite a bit and was struggling and couldn't climb as much, so I was drinking a lot more.
Right.
But mostly just beer, IPAs, crazy beers
Good beers, man.
back in the
I miss
States
my
for
good
sure.
beers.
Yeah, and
I was
Colorado has a good beer community as well.
Yeah,
So
Colorado is like Arizona,
yeah,
right?
same. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. So it's
I wonder I got so fat in
yeah,
college. I
yeah,
drank so much
100%.
good
Yeah.
beer.
And we used to have this funny because we in college you don't get shit for money, and so we used to have these bars that had these penny nights.
Oh, Benny
Yeah,
Knights.
so it's,
Yes.
it's like the expired kegs and
Yeah.
whatever. You're drinking really shit beer.
Yeah, you got to get rid of it,
Yeah, yeah, it's
right?
gonna
So you're
go
like, all
bad,
right, got to
right?
move because you got to purchase the next one.
Right. It's a $20 cover charge with penny beers, right?
Benny Knights,
It's
Dime Nights, Penny
yeah,
Nights. It's
bad mornings.
yeah,
Yeah, so grew up just basically drinking beer and wine. Wine, when it's some dinner or whatever. But then, and that was up until recently, to be honest. And then I moved to Philippines, and got a hot girlfriend, and she loved cocktails, and so I was like, oh, this doesn't look too hard. I watched that guy make it, and so kind of tried to play around with it, and really got over the edge in cocktails. Right, I have a problem. I rarely do things halfway,
Yeah, no, I
and
get it.
yeah, and
Because if you're gonna
so
do it, why fuck around?
yeah. So then it turned into a cocktail obsession. Um, and before I knew it, all my friends here, cocktail guys and stuff. And I really enjoy making people cocktails. And I always explain cocktails like cooking on speed.
It is.
You really can just have a really fun time, do something very quick, express yourself in an artistic way, and all of that. And I really enjoyed it. I still do. I still enjoy it. Um,
Oh yeah, for those that don't know, like he gets super geeky. Like he has like a second fridge that has like ready, not ready to go cocktails, but like ready to go things to put into cocktails,
yeah, yeah.
right? Like I would say you're not, you know, you know how Elon Musk is on the spectrum in general,
Yeah.
in life, that's
Yeah.
Elon Musk. This guy's definitely not on the spectrum on anything I've ever met.
I'm still ADHD for sure and OC,
Yeah,
but
well, on
I'm
the
not.
spectrum, a
Yeah,
little bit on
yeah,
cocktails,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like once you get obsessed,
Right. It's hard to hit the brakes.
hard to hit the
Yeah,
brakes.
yeah.
Yeah, so you're a little bit on the spectrum when it comes to cocktails.
Yeah, and I think for me, it still is today. Like I wish I had, and that's probably the reason why I always have a bar at some stages is to have that sort of.
Yeah,
It's more of an artistic expression, right? With doing things and having that the challenge to build stuff, new
yeah.
stuff, and fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same
Um,
thing with food and barbecue. I mean,
exactly same.
oh,
Exactly same. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly same.
like it,
So
cooking, preparing, anything with food and drinks, whatever. It's an art form.
yeah, exactly.
Like, listen, you put me in front of a painting, I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
But you put a piece of meat in front of
Right,
me
right.
and say, create a rub, do the right cooking temperature and all this. Do it how you express
Yeah,
yourself.
yep.
I express myself in the same way when it comes to cooking meats.
Totally. And 10 years ago, I would have been like, "Oh, that's great for you," but I wouldn't have really understood that. But after diving in the cocktail scene, it's funny because that's kind of pulled me in the cooking side. So my mom's very culinary, and so I send her shots of what I'm doing every now and then because I cook a little bit now, and she's always like, "I'm so impressed," and it becomes that, right? It becomes that expression, and it's fun and the challenge and stuff. So. And kind of one thing led to another, and I got into the very spirit forward cocktails, and I like those bold flavors and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I got on the Amoros and the Italian liqueurs that are very strong flavors, and actually I really fault that for bringing me into whiskey
Okay.
because it's those really bold, intense kind of
Yeah.
blast your face off flavors. And my friends still make fun of me for that. Like if it's not blowing Tim's face off, he doesn't want it.
Do you remember the first single malt?
Yeah, I remember the first single malt I had was Johnnie Walker Red, and I thought it tasted like paint thinner. And I was like,
I
"Fuck
mean,
this."
blended whiskey on that one.
Sorry, yeah,
So that was your first
yeah.
Scotch,
That was my first exposure to Scotch whiskey.
and yet it wasn't like old red. It's like current red.
Oh, that was mid 2000s, but yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
when I
yeah,
say
yeah.
old red, I'm
No,
talking
no,
about
no.
like
Yeah,
because I've had red from the '70s. It was quite delicious.
yeah, makes sense, makes sense.
But
Yeah.
red now is
Excuse me.
not the greatest.
No, it's not great. It's not great. I mean, it's great maybe for cocktails and stuff, but
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
highball. Right?
yeah, but a highball.
Yeah. So first single malt.
Because mine was Glenmorangie Standard 10-year. That was my first. I remember that because in 2009 you couldn't get anything. You could hardly get any good single malts in the Philippines in 2009.
Yeah. Whereas today we get a lot, right?
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much.
Yeah. The first one I really recall, and I feel kind of bad to say this, but a friend brought over. I had a kind of an industry party for some finance guys at my place, and a friend brought over a Glenlivet 15.
Okay. That's
Um,
decent stuff.
Decent
Yeah.
stuff, yeah. And like a dumbass, not knowing that it's $50 bottle. It's like 2.5, right? Something like that. Maybe even more. Maybe three.
Yeah.
3.5.
Glenlivet 15's gone up a bit.
Maybe 3.5,
Like,
whatever it is.
well, it's about 3-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a bad dram.
It's not a
Honestly.
bad drum by any
Yeah.
means. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. So, and I'm really in the cocktail phase. That's that point. So I'm like, let's use this to make some infusion because I don't really like the way it tastes. So I ended up throwing it with some cashews and letting it sit, which was quite tasty. Yeah, like a cashew single malt, which was
Okay,
really good.
that
Yeah,
sounds interesting.
but focus on cocktails.
Right, of course.
And then I think it's the Amoros, and I'm trying to remember. It's probably David Garrar. They got me really into
He really
drinking.
got into
Yeah,
it. Okay.
and it wasn't really so much, because I started getting very exploring spirits when it came to the mezcals and some of these things,
Yeah.
and so really got into spirits. I just really want to understand what's in the cocktails and stuff. So then you become curious, and then so I started to drink more with him. And I definitely, when I first met David Garrar, he was Scottish guy, just for the audience, Scottish guy who's currently moved out of the Philippines for work, and um, and I would say he's probably the biggest influence on me getting into whiskey, and just like cocktails, right? Dive in head first, and really just enjoy bourbon, of course, great cocktail, American
Yeah.
whiskey.
But the flavors could be a bit too bold sometimes.
Well, I mean, for me, bourbon
Like
is just a bit boring because you open up 10 bottles of bourbon, they all kind of taste the same.
they have a similar flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some nuance there, but not the same. You open up 10 bottles of different types of whiskey from Scotland and they taste miles apart. And so that journey was something that was really fun for me and still very fun for me.
So with cocktails, do you like playing with bourbon or Scotch more? Because for me, I like bourbon more
Yeah,
because
same.
it holds up to to whatever flavor profile.
Hmm.
Where Scotch could be very delicate, especially single malts.
Yeah, I definitely find. I mean, I have felt challenged when I'm not busy. Then, and I have people to drink my cocktails because I feel bad pouring cocktails and pouring them out because I'm not going to drink them. But I've definitely felt challenged to do more Scotch flavors cocktails. But I've not really explored a lot with it. I mean, I played around a little bit some stuff,
A
but
little
not
bit
as
of
much.
blood and sand, but
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
that flavors get lost because you got orange juice and like it.
yeah. I think I mean, it depends, right? But I mean, I feel that Scotch um, whiskey or can be, or I just call it whiskey. For me, whiskey is from Scotland. Everywhere else, it's American whiskey, Japanese whiskey, whatever.
Irish whiskey.
Irish whiskey, yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
don't tell that to the Irish, because guess who?
yeah. I know
For them, who the
they think they invented it,
first
right?
recorded,
Right,
right?
right, right,
Was
right.
yeah,
Yeah. So for me, whiskey is tends to be a bit either or. It's like not enough or too much.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, with smoky, I think for me, when it comes to whiskeys, cocktails, bourbon. So okay, say with Scotch. Okay,
yeah.
is a smoky whiskey
Hmm.
because it has that one bold flavor
Yeah.
that holds up. After if you try to do now, we won't say our favorite Aaron Bodega,
Yeah.
right? Which
We,
holds up
yeah. Super, super solid.
because of
Yeah.
bold flavors.
Hmm. Hmm.
But like most other single malts, kind of lie flat because it doesn't have that bold flavor to
Yeah.
keep it up. Where
Yeah.
with a peated Scotch,
Yeah.
like a good highball,
Yep.
a good whiskey sour,
Sure. Yep. Yep.
holds up well.
Penicillin, something like this. Yeah. Yeah.
Penicillin,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah, and I think that's where, I mean, for me, yeah, I think for most bartenders, I think whiskey tends to be much more of an accent versus the primary spirit, which makes sense, right? Because it typically has a specific profile.
Yeah, but for me, as you said, talk about the spirit forward,
Mm-mm.
right?
Yeah.
I want my cocktails
Yeah.
to let the spirit shine, not be secondary. And I think this is a fight right now with a lot of bartenders, right? Because one attitude is, oh no, let my cocktail shine.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But then you're adding so much shit to it.
Right.
Then where is the spirit?
Yeah, and I think for the spirit stuff, I think you could have more of some of these really good spirits, like the Bodega Sherry. Aaron is fucking brilliant.
Oh,
Such a great
phenomenal.
bottle.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. And they've really knocked out of the park. And I think it's one of the underrated whiskeys out there, if you ask me.
Aaron, boom.
Yeah, they're amazing. And and I think it gets to a stage for me, not like a better than stage, but where I enjoy the spirit so much, I don't even want to fuck around with putting it in a cocktail.
No,
You know what I mean? It's like we'll leave the bourbon for the Manhattan, but the Bodega Sherry could be a fucking insane Manhattan.
oh, dude,
Yeah.
I've done old fashions with that.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
Absolutely
for sure, for sure,
amazing.
for sure.
I always say
Yeah.
this with the Bodega Sherry. Neat is one because it's what 56.96 something like that.
0.89, something like that.
Having it neat was one whiskey. Putting it on ice is another whiskey.
Yeah, makes sense.
Putting it with water, it's a different whiskey.
Yeah.
Because you're still, I call it a whiskey because it's still above 40% alcohol.
Oh yeah,
when you do
for
that.
sure, for sure. Yeah.
It's three different whiskeys from one.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. And it's such a beautiful whiskey, right? I mean, it's really. I think it's a shame that we don't have any more here. Hopefully we can.
Oh,
you guys
yeah.
can resurrect
Let's
that some
find
stage.
some investors for
Yeah.
the new version of what I'm going to do. I'm not going to say the name, but
Yeah.
as you know, you do it right.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
could
absolutely.
You
I mean,
could have the distributor for the people, by the people.
yeah, absolutely. And you know, I just love the Aaron guys, the scrappy style and
Yeah.
cool, independent, keep it our own, and it's awesome. I just love what they're doing. Yeah, so I'm not really even sure how. I think it just kind of stumbled into whiskey and
So probably David Grew kind of
Yeah,
sounds like
no,
took you on an
David.
adventure.
yeah, or pushed me off the edge, right? And
Yeah.
then I think it was pandemic. I really I was overboard
Yeah, you
at
were.
the start. Yeah, I drank a lot during the pandemic. I was at some stage I was really crushing the Campari. So I was drinking a lot of Campari. I just do Campari with soda water.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was my go-to. Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you this. So I haven't said anything about. I've never said anything about whatever with him, right? Just current stuff. So I remember. So obviously, I was probably the first one globally to do professional master classes on Zoom. Like no one was doing it yet. Then all of a sudden, everyone copied, right? And that's okay. That's what happens.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing your name. I remember seeing your name purchased our bottles.
Yep.
Right. All of a sudden, he adds me on Facebook. I'm like, oh, not Facebook. Sorry. WhatsApp. Sorry. Instagram. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Who's this douchebag? Right.
Yeah. So okay. He starts chatting me up. I'm like, I don't know this guy that well, but you know what? I'm gonna chat back. Oh, he's going to Colorado. Okay. Like, what's going on? And that's just really how it happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The friendship. Like, all right, you went out of your way.
Mm.
I'm like, oh, this just started chatting and
Yeah,
chatting. Like,
yeah.
oh, how's Colorado? Oh,
Yeah.
you're gonna join? No, I mean, I'll be in Colorado for whatever. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, like I didn't realize literally you just got into the foray. Your foray into whiskey. Like
Yeah.
literally, you're like a year out.
Yeah, no, it was like I don't even want to I won't confess how many bottles I've drank of whiskey in that short period of time, but it was a lot, and yeah, and but become with this thing where it's not even about getting drunk. It's about just enjoying
Yeah.
the profile, and then you have one bottle and you stack them up against each other and you say, wow, they're so different, they're so fun, and for me, I mean. Whiskey these days it's as much fun for me to share whiskey with other people and for them to be able to see, wow, like this, it's watch their eyes open up and see all the different flavors and stuff, and that to me is as much fun as drinking it by myself.
Oh yeah. I mean, yes, I love seeing I think, one of the first things I did once I poured this, right, and you'll see in the video, is I took a nose right away.
I didn't take notes. I just drank straight.
Yeah, you
I
went
thought
straight
I
in.
thought we were just drinking it. Yeah.
Well, it is what it is, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know nose Johnnie Walker, but it's okay. We can nose it. It's all right.
yeah, like even if it's Johnny Black, I've found it where I'm at the club before, pre-pandemic.
I'm with you.
I'm nosing Johnny Black.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
No. I'm with you.
Right?
That was just me.
Yeah, no, you just want to get involved.
That was just poor etiquette. That's all.
No, it's not. Listen, I'm probably the biggest anti-snob when it comes to whiskey.
Yeah.
I think the snobbery, get the fuck out of here.
But I'm with you. I mean, I definitely find, and I'll tell you, that's probably one of my potentially. Lee might say otherwise, but it's one of my.
Shout to Lee Watson, who
Yeah.
owns Spirits Library and published on Macati.
Yeah.
Good man.
I always catch myself over there sniffing for a long time. I was always drinking rum there, and sniff these really crazy the Clarons, and they just really captivate my nose, and so
Yeah.
I super get it. I super get it with.
Because Claron is a brand of rum or brands of rum.
Yeah.
Right, and they're more of the funky kind of flavors, right? And
Yeah.
I'm into funky rums myself.
Yep.
Right, and
Yep.
I think what it is, it's like getting into Scotch whiskeys.
A very similar experience for me. Yep.
Similar experience, right? You're getting different experiences from different brands, different regions, and it's all just a bit different.
Yeah, and I would say as much as love Scotch. Um, I think the nose on rums is actually more captivating than Scotch.
Oh.
Yeah, no question. Because we had opened up a bottle the other night of some very fun, delicious whiskey, and then we there was a bottle of really funky rum, and it was like whiskey, delicious rum, holy shit. And
Yeah.
and the taste is very different. I mean, I don't find rum like I don't find that like we'll probably drink this bottle tonight, right, or close to it. I wouldn't sit down and drink a bottle of rum like that as easily or as more enjoyably as I would a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
But
I
I
get it.
definitely find for the nose and the smells on rum to be very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, besides a few maybe rums out there,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I think with rums, maybe one or two glasses. What's the next rum?
Right. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Which
It's
is like
more about
scotch,
tastings. Yeah.
right? Like I could put this bottle down. We're
Yeah.
gonna
Absolutely.
we're gonna finish
Right.
this.
Right. 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 It's tasty. We're having a great time. It's
Yeah.
yeah. Exactly.
Rums tend to be a bit whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
I
of
understand what you
course, there's certain rums that are different. I'll be always give a shout to Luisita. You know,
Yep.
I think their
Yep.
single barrel stuff
Yep.
is very interesting.
Yeah. And Paco's such a cool guy. I love what he's doing. Right.
Yeah,
So,
listen, the Quanco family.
yeah.
Even if I'm Ilocano, half Ilocano,
Yeah.
listen, I
Yeah.
love the Quancos, right?
Yeah.
I think they got something interesting.
Mm.
I think rum's interesting. Now,
Yeah.
question is, now for you, you know, newbie into spirits
Sure.
compared to some of us,
Yeah.
right?
For sure. For sure.
They've talked about rum for at least, you know, before you got involved in spirits, over 10 years.
Yep.
The next one, but it just never got into it. It never like got even close to whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit of I think, I mean, again, as a novice at best, I would say that there's a marketing side there, right? So whereas Diageo spends a cajillion dollars every year in marketing, pushing their Johnnie Walkers, all these things, there's a certain, you look for whiskey when you go to a bar
Yeah.
for a lot of people. And what's the rum they have available at a bar? Shit.
Don Papa.
Well,
no, okay, not
yeah.
getting not.
Well,
going
no. I
there.
mean, yeah, that's it.
They
But
just bought Don. So okay, Diageo just bought Don Papa a few months ago. I'm not gonna get in. I'm not gonna say all the little details, but it was close to $300 million
potentially, right, with the earnout.
potentially.
But,
They're not getting involved in what they bought because
Yeah.
I love my friends at Don Papa. They've
Yeah.
always treated me right.
And fair play to them, honestly. I mean, because they played their cards right.
Good job, Don
Yeah,
Papa.
yeah,
That's all I'm gonna say.
yeah, absolutely.
Because if I had that much money,
Yeah,
I would not do it.
yeah. Well, and fair play, right? I mean, for whatever they're buying and whatever they're getting.
Whatever they're getting.
Yeah, but I mean, but the average rum you get and shout out to my buddy who's who's a BA, but Bacardi, the normal,
So
the white, the
Mr.
gold.
Mustache there also.
Yeah, he's a little bit
He's
of
a-
mustache man.
He's a good
Um,
guy.
Yeah, super good guy. But the you're not gonna find a lot of people that don't want to drink a Bacardi rum neat or even on the rocks, something like that. They're just not gonna do it, right? So I think the challenge is that for rum to be more mainstream, they need to up the normal lines of rum because you're not gonna get these boutique rums. People are not going to buy, 7,000, 8,000 peso bottles because that's what it's going to cost if you buy it at the bar. They're not going to buy that.
Because it's rum. I mean,
Yeah.
because
Maybe a connoisseur would, but the bars aren't going to buy the bottles.
No.
And
mean,
so that's the
the
challenge.
fact that you get Captain Morgan spiced rum
Right.
at about $8 at a 7-Eleven,
Right.
I
Yeah.
think
Exactly.
is an issue. Now, of course, the current master blender of Bacardi rums is a Filipino guy
Oh,
who
interesting.
actually
Didn't know that.
he chats on the WSP chat.
No shit. That's cool.
Oh yeah,
That's
and
cool.
you should get involved in that because he actually gives some great insights. By the way,
Interesting.
Whiskey Side of the Philippines, shout out.
Yeah.
It's you know what? I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's one of those things where I think if rum wants to get to whiskey is today, it has to do what happened in whiskey in the 70s. in the 70s, right? Whiskey went, oh, that's your father's or grandfather's drink.
Sure.
We'll drink
Sure.
vodka.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And it was one of those things where that's why a lot of whiskey distilleries, bourbon, scotch, whatever,
Yeah.
started folding in the 80s.
Sure.
Either something needs to happen with rum, or like almost feels like something crazy has to happen.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, yeah. I think you're right. And I think it's a market thing, but also I think typically, I mean, it's following the marketing money,
Yeah.
and so if they find a reasonable product, and I'm sure Bacardi can make a reasonable product, then and they're willing to put them. I mean, Bacardi Black for me, horrible. Um,
Not a fan.
yeah, but if they can come up with a reasonable product that can. I mean, honestly, I think rum has much more appeal than whiskey does.
Yeah.
As a general, because it's sweeter, it's more approachable. If they can work on the marketing side, spend the money,
Yeah.
make the investment. But I think the challenge is all these brands are so diversified that they're worried about cannibalization. So
No, for sure.
they're not willing to spend the money to say, hey, we're gonna push something. It's gonna take some rebel out there to come in and say, hey, we're gonna push rum,
I
right?
mean, as Americans, we need to support rum because rum helped start the revolution.
Uh, Go on, history buff.
Oh, you don't know this?
I mean,
Oh
not as much as you do.
Yeah. So, sugar tax. The sugar
Isn't
tax.
that interesting how all these indirects, right? Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, the sugar tax affected rum. All of a sudden, you can't
Course,
bring
course.
rum
Yeah.
into the United. Like it's harder to bring rum to the U.S.
So
because
what was this, like early mid 1700s?
1750s.
Okay.
Yeah,
And what was that time where there was all these rum runners? When was that? The same
around
period
that
of time?
time, 1750s.
And what do they call those guys again? They call them the I watched a Netflix documentary on this one time. It was really cool.
I'm not sure. I mean, these rum runners slash. I mean, a lot of them like pirates, privateers.
Yeah, privateers. Yeah, it's really really interesting.
Right,
What a
I
crazy time to live
mean,
in, though.
And you got to remember with the American Revolution, right? Like your corner tavern was
Mm.
on every corner.
Sure. Yeah.
It was
yeah.
like like the tavern was a place. Was like the church hall.
Yeah, of course.
Like the guys went, you would go there to hang out, talk to people, catch up.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
Americans were pretty much raised on drinking.
100%.
So-
especially in those days. I mean, because at the end of the day, I mean, most of them are ex-English or ex-Irish or
Yeah,
Italian.
Yeah,
and
German, Irish like
German,
me.
and they all drink, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and especially the English and the
Yeah.
Scotch, right?
yeah. Germans had their schnapps.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Listen, I just know my German side. We fought against those damn Brits.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I always find it's interesting how policy shapes so many things, like the indirect intention of policy
Yeah, like
shapes things. Yeah.
Like they don't look past what's in front of their nose.
Or it's hard to see it, right? It's hard to see, and I often find that in software and programming is that like, we didn't see the impact of this small decision was going to have this ripple effect and impact something over here. So I mean, it's very easy to, even if you have the whole picture in mind, to not foresee the indirect
That
effects.
one variable you're not
yeah.
taking into account.
Correct. Because
right?
you didn't think 4 steps ahead,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
listen, I think you and I are both critical thinkers.
Try to be. Yeah.
We try to be as much as we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. I'm not very smart, but I try to be.
Well, I mean, listen, someday you'll get your MBA. No, joking. You don't need your MBA. MBA doesn't do.
I've got an MBA with no certificate. Yeah.
Okay, that's another topic for another
Yeah,
time. I
yeah,
like it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. It's hard to think about every little step.
Yeah.
So is that
yeah.
one step you don't think about? A lot of times happens.
Yep. Yeah. Love. Yeah. Indirect. Yeah.
Right. And yeah, I think
So explain the sugar tax again and how will that happen?
so. Yeah, the sugar tax, right? So of course, the king wanted his taxes.
King of England.
The King of England. Of course, he's supporting his wars against France and the other people.
Yeah.
So what do? They start taxing things. One of them was sugar.
Sure.
Now,
Which mostly came from the plantations in the Caribbean.
exactly
Yeah.
came from down there.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden it started affecting rum.
Hmm.
which was a favorite amongst the colonials. It wasn't whiskey. It wasn't wine.
Well, because it's
It was
available,
sherry.
right? It's
It was
available.
readily available.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, it's more expensive for me to get drunk.
Yeah, sure. So they're pissed off.
Pissed off. Now I'm gonna drink, but I'll be pissed off about it.
Interesting. So what's the demographics of rum at the time? Are you familiar with that? Did it go how far up did it go? Did it go
Oh, it
all the
went
way?
Boston.
No shit.
Yeah, no, it was.
Interesting.
It
So
was
it was more of a rum party, not a tea party.
Yeah, no, it was a tea party just because it was there, but
Interesting.
alcohol fueled the revolution.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
If you look at what, like,
Hmm.
I think George Washington's bill when he at a certain bar, it was rum, it was whiskey, it was wine, it was
No shit.
American revolutionaries were hammered.
Interesting.
You want to start a revolution,
Huh.
get people drunk.
For sure. Yeah, and high.
And high.
Are better. Yeah.
Oh, high,
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like when they talked about getting high back like 40 years ago, they
Yeah.
were talking about drinking.
Yeah.
It wasn't smoking out.
For sure. Yeah.
It was, it was literally like, oh, let's get high. Let's get drunk on whatever.
Liquid courage. No?
Liquid
Let's go.
courage, baby.
Yeah. Interesting.
It took about 25, 30 years, but it started a revolution, which started the greatest democracy in the freaking world.
Interesting. Yeah. Huh. That's funny.
Yeah. And those who don't know, I am a poli-sci minor, so history has always been one of my things, right?
Yeah. That's very interesting.
Like, by the way, who gets minors anymore?
Yeah, I think if you're just trying to get out of college fast.
Yeah, I want, like, well, I know people that got a major and their certificates, but not a minor. I got a minor because I said, oh, 3 more classes left. I might as well get a minor.
Yeah, makes sense, right? Yeah. Check the box, right?
Yeah, like, oh, I want a minor.
Yeah.
Poli-sci,
Yeah.
which had legal classes, history.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, yeah, if you ever want to know how to get out of things, take legal classes.
Yeah, no, I think they should really overhaul the whole BA curriculum in the States.
Oh,
I mean,
it's
it
ridiculous.
should be, yeah, or maybe just in general. I think
It needs to be more balanced.
more balanced, less bullshit, and more practical stuff, right? I mean, like more like how to invest your money after you start to make it, right?
Oh, yeah.
How to be more like fiscally conscious as a person. There needs to be more practical classes because everybody all this bullshit like English lit and great. I'm with you. I think that's important, but why am I paying so many thousands of dollars for this fucking stupid class? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm coming up with a different point of view. As a business student, right?
Yeah.
Which you and I are.
Yeah.
What I feel is a lot of business schools, they have these certificate programs.
What do you mean by a certificate program? I'm not sure what that.
Okay, so meaning like, oh, I'm gonna get an like instead of saying a minor and like an emphasis. So
yeah, okay.
Like, oh, I'm getting
Business
supply
degree with
chain.
emphasis in finance. something
Yeah,
like this,
or like you're getting a yellow belt or a purple belt.
Okay.
In supply chain.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Instead of that, like, have people understand. For me, I want people to take more arts.
I have nothing against arts. I have nothing against literature. I don't think it's those things.
Yeah.
But what I find is that most liberal arts schools that I'm familiar with, there's not enough teaching on practical stuff that actually impacts people's lives, especially when they graduate. You know what I mean? So you talk about okay, what does a person really need? Well, most people get out of university, they have no idea about basic economics.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, it's business people. We understand that, right?
We get it.
But because
Right.
we had those classes, we had basic accounting, we had basic economics, we had all these things. But most average people, they don't understand, and that's why we always laugh about the Democrats. And I'm not picking on Democrats necessarily, but I just mean that like, everything's great until you try to think about how you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
And so I think if everybody had like, changed the core curriculum to be less arts and more focused on practical shit that runs the economy, that runs the way the world works, right? Which
But I also want the opposite, like for us business students.
fair
So
enough.
I think
yeah,
think it's kind of two-ended. If you're a business student, right?
yeah,
You need more. Not saying art.
sure,
Art. When people say art, it's not the art. I'm talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Touchy-feely side. Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit. It's just more of just what's going on in the I guess in middle school we call this humanities.
yeah. Humanities, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we need more humanities to see what
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was like, I am probably more than most people when it comes to, I'm a capitalist by all means,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, if you're
Mm.
not a capitalist as an entrepreneur, you're just throwing money away.
Well, it's the old adage, right? That says if you're a let's say Republican or right wing when you're young, you're heartless. If you're old and you're a Democrat, you're stupid,
Yeah,
right? Um,
but it's a balance.
it's a balance, and it's more on the physical side of things, not
Yeah,
on the
but
other side of things. But
I
it's
agree. Like,
yeah.
like people that need help
I'm
because,
not against social programs. I'm
right?
not against that at all.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
because once you get into that weird hole,
Yeah.
it's hard to get out.
Correct. And I think the biggest thing, I mean, and this is we've gone quite a bit past whiskey, but I definitely think that education is the biggest issue because once a person's educated, whether it's experience or or some type of um, schooling education, I think experience is better. But you're changed, right? And you
Yeah.
can't go back to the old mindset.
No,
I think experience does that much better
huge.
than text.
I mean,
But
listen, theory is theory.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I always say
yeah,
this,
yeah.
like, as you know, I teach supply chain management, which is what I got my degree in.
Yeah.
I teach it locally here at Enderun. And for me, I could only teach so much. So what I try to do for my students is,
Yeah.
of course, there's a book out there and, the notes, the slides are my slides.
Mm.
I try to teach them critical thinking,
Yep, that's exactly right.
right?
Yeah.
Because critical thinking,
And take that home with you.
exactly, theory, who cares?
Yep.
Because I take my theory, throw it out the window, I start thinking for myself.
Correct. That's right. That's right.
And I think, if anything, I think all people should understand how to critically think, how to
Yep.
think for themselves.
Yep. Especially in Asia, because I think in Asia, with the let's call it curriculum. I mean, I don't know. I didn't grow up here, but I noticed that most curriculum in Asia, it's more of like spoon fed, like just and you're not really focused on critical thinking, problem solving, things
Yeah,
like
no,
this,
it's
right?
just
As much.
memorize.
And I would say actually Philippines probably better off than most places in Asia
Okay.
for that. Just my experience. Because I find Filipinos much more free thinkers than most Asians.
Okay. I think because the Western thing about, I'll tell you this, like from my experience is professors or teachers, even if they're wrong,
Yeah.
if you as a student try to go against what the teacher's thinking,
For sure.
he will punish you.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
Oh shit.
Like it's not
Yeah.
a good thing.
Don't challenge me.
Don't challenge me.
Oh, that's bad.
And listen, it's about their thing. Now, of course, with my students,
Yeah.
right, I tell them, listen, I am God. This is my class. It's my class, mother effer.
Oh, that's hilarious.
However, no, when I say this, I always
Yeah.
say this. Listen, if I'm wrong, call me out. Even with my old company. Listen, I don't mind saying I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't mind saying I was wrong in something.
Yeah.
Show me I'm wrong, and I'll accept it.
For sure.
But I think until you prove me wrong, then listen, this is what I say. But I always say this after, if I'm wrong, let me know. Because I think, with doctors, right?
Yeah.
They call it medical practice.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because you're constantly practicing.
For sure.
It's not forever set in stone.
Yeah.
I think that same thing goes with learning.
100%. Yeah, I have a very similar example with work where something will come up with some of the logic in our software and I'll be like, who the fuck designed this? This is fucking stupid. And they'll be like, boss, that was you? That guy should be fucking fired. He's an absolute idiot. But it's funny because some things just change.
Yeah.
And what made sense back then doesn't make sense today. And the business logic changes, the business concept changes, your requirements change, everything changes, right?
Yeah.
So that whole ad, that the logic of everything set in stone, it doesn't work
Doesn't work.
at all.
Yeah.
Doesn't work at all.
I mean, unless it's like gravity.
Yeah, unless
Right.
it's a law of science.
Yeah. But as I said, even science changes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, it's no, it's one of those things. Like it's like all right,
But professors that just can't be challenged like that, to me, that's so sad because it should be. I mean, isn't learning should be a forever thing.
it should be. But okay, gotta look at also the culture, right?
Yeah.
This is either in the Philippines, either very patriarchal or matriarchal, depending on the family, right?
Yeah.
Very some type of matriarchal.
Not to interrupt you, which is very ironic because to me, based on what I see in the Philippines, they're probably one of the most balanced from a demographic, from a male female
Yeah.
perspective on management, on CEOs, and all these, on presidents, and all these things.
Yeah.
Way far more than any Western place.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
I mean,
U.S.
yeah, I mean, U.S. It's like, oh, we're still gonna get our first, female
Presidents.
president. Philippines had one how many years ago?
Cory Aquino, 1986.
Yeah, exactly. And how many female CEOs are here? There's a shit ton.
A lot.
And I mean, my key managers are female here, and
Well, also, who's better with handling cash? Like if you look at like even stores and restaurants, they
100%.
trust the women, not
100%.
the men.
100%,
Right?
yeah.
Oh, I want a woman to count my cash, not the man.
So I find it very interesting that it's still very patriarchal, yet still a little bit more balanced than a lot of places.
Yeah.
I just find it to be, I find it very interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a different thing.
And not to interject you again,
Yeah.
but I find that the women's, at least the Filipinas that I have experience with, friends, and all the sorts. They basically there's a lot more respect for the man's place in society and the patriarchal concept, while still feeling empowered, right? Whereas a lot of friends and colleagues and everything that I have experience with, they're very respectful of the patriarchal structure while still feeling empowered to do their own thing,
Yeah.
which I think is, anyways.
It's interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah, I mean,
the
you
dynamic. Right?
yeah, and potentially the paradoxical side of it,
Yeah,
because if in the West it's empowering or it's patriarchal, it's not both.
no.
And I find here there's this combo, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Can we turn the aircon down a little bit? I'm like half chilling over here.
yeah.
Do you have Alexa? What do you do?
Sorry, this is not an Alexa moment. Here,
Okay,
I'll
okay.
turn it to 23. There we go. Yeah, it's not an Alexa moment here. Let me tell you. Yeah, it's interesting here. Growing up half Filipino, right, and dad
Being half
ex-Army.
Filipino, you didn't just grow up. You're half Filipino.
I'm half Filipino,
Yeah.
but I'm all American.
For sure.
You gotta remember.
Boy, that's really caramely when you drop the
Yeah.
the water in there. It's really tasty. Actually, I prefer it like this.
Oh, that's nice.
Taste that caramel?
Yeah, it really comes out, right? It
Yeah.
hides a bit. Now, of course, who knows in 30 minutes if we cover it if to be different, but as far as right now, it's hiding certain flavors that would come out. Listen, science, chemistry,
Yeah.
when you add water, certain phenols go into hiding because other flavors are being agitated when you add water.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is,
It's nice.
yeah, it's very nice.
Actually, I like it more.
But yeah, I mean, growing up, right, in that sense, I think just like anyone else, right? Yeah, dad's moments, mom's moments,
For sure.
right? Who led the house depending on what was going on,
Yeah. Of course.
right? I think for me, in the Asian American context, I was lucky to have a mom that was accepting of American culture.
Yeah.
Right? Like accepting of both Asian, like I remember going to parties and all Filipino parties
Yep.
and whatever, but
Yep.
then also growing up very American, in Arizona, like I didn't hang around with any Asians.
Yep.
Nor did I want to, honestly, because I wanted to expand,
Sure.
right? one of the reasons I even came here a second time, because the first time I was here when I was 10, was like, all right, there's a good chance I won't be coming to Asia
Okay.
if I just keep on working in Arizona or California or whatever.
You want a glass or no?
Yeah, I probably should need a glass.
Sorry.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I have this opportunity again.
Sure. Yeah.
So I might as well go ahead and come to the Philippines, and all of a sudden, 16 years later, I'm still here.
So that was your first trip was just to come explore.
No, so
Or you
no,
took
I
a
was
job
here when
here?
I was 10,
Okay. Yeah.
and went to like fourth, fifth grade here.
Oh, okay. Got it.
But then I was offered 2007, hey, or late 2006, you want to move to the Philippines, get your MBA here. I
Right.
was like, well, it's not Europe.
Yeah.
All my other white friends are going to Europe.
Yeah.
But like, you know what? If I don't take this opportunity,
Yeah. Sure.
it may not happen because I'm
Yeah.
gonna, find a woman, get her pregnant, blah blah. All the typical what we
Probably
should
married
do.
first. Yeah. Whatever. Let's
Oh,
hope.
never know. America, baby. I look at the movie Casino.
Yeah.
I want to get her pregnant first, have a kid. She's a toddler, then I'll marry her. Hey, you never know, right? You never know. Never know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like, okay, fine. And then listen, I fell in love, but the economy took a dump. Kind of got stuck here.
So sorry. Which
2008.
2008. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. But better here than most places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't think the U.S. would rebound so fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
But U.S. rebounded within 2 years.
Well, depends on what segment you're in, but yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I mean, listen,
Yeah. Interesting.
yeah, but I feel myself as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right.
I think
And
Asia's a great place to be an entrepreneur as well, right?
Yeah. The Philippines a bit tougher than others because all the red tape you have to go through to start a
Yeah,
company.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think maybe I definitely think the local restrictions are a bit higher.
Yeah.
I don't know about everywhere in Asia, but definitely, I would say Philippines actually more than China, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, China's got some red tape for sure, and China's got other problems, but as far as not political, but just cash flow and stuff and moving things around and whatever. But
Yeah. As long as you don't have tech that you're trying to keep away from the China government, I think you're okay.
yeah, I mean, China's and the other issue too is repatriation of your money outside of China, right? So you can develop profits in China, but getting them out is a bit more tricky.
Which is, I believe Apple has been having an issue with for the last so many years.
Apple, yeah, I mean, yeah, they have because they, obviously they're selling a lot of product to China, probably one of their largest markets, and then they have that profit built there, and then they can't move
They
it.
can't bring it to the And I remember Trump was
Yeah,
trying
so
to make it easier.
that's a different problem, right? That's a we call reshoring of the profits. So they can't. Those profits are stuck in some. And Apple's quite smart, so they do stuff where they actually probably have most of their money in Hong Kong, or Singapore, or Ireland, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then what they're doing is they have some tax structures where they're doing those things, but they won't bring the money back to the States, because if they bring it back to the States, then they have to pay the tax.
Yeah, U.S. tax structure with the government is ridiculous.
So they have to pay like 25+% tax to bring it back to the States, to bring that cash back.
Yeah, that's already been taxed by another country.
Yeah, so it's been taxed already once, maybe twice, depending upon what the tax structure looks like. But so that reshoring of those overseas profits is it's legislation. So yeah, and if you're an American citizen, you're fucked either way. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
You just get ass raped all the time.
I mean, it's interesting about how a lot of politicians in the U.S., American politicians, they know there's an issue.
Yeah, and in the tax code, I mean, understanding tax, understanding sort of global tax and everything. Not that I'm a professional by any stretch anymore, but it's very complex, and the U.S. is unique in a sense because it's really using tax as an incentive to drive business.
Yeah.
So the reason why the U.S. tax code is so complex is because they're using the tax code to drive business segments and incentives for people to do stuff. Europe, it's much less complex. because they have different type of tax structures. So Europe has what they call VAT, right? So value added tax, so which is kind of a flat tax on everything.
Right.
Anything that comes in has a VAT. So US doesn't have that, and then they have different sort of.
Yeah, U.S. incentivizes corporations to do what they do.
Yeah, that's right. And then the corporations influence the U.S. government to
Yeah.
give them incentives for what
Of
they want to do.
course. I mean, listen. I mean,
Yeah, that's-
should we still? I mean, it's a political thing. Should we still be giving subsidies to oil companies, even if they're like, even without American government subsidies, they'd be making billions? That's a political topic, actually, and I don't
Yeah.
want to get into that. But,
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things. Right? You're right. Like,
Yeah.
how U.S. tax code is, it's about incentivizing companies.
Which I think it's the right strategy. I think the challenge is
You got to be incentivizing companies.
Yeah, you need to be incentivizing. I think the challenge is that because of the U.S. Basically agreeing to allow soft money, which is lobbying and all these things, I think you're injecting impartial decision making into your process.
Once they got rid of Frank Dodd, and it went downhill.
Yeah, and how do you reverse it at this stage? Because how do you reverse soft money? Because no politician's going to vote against it.
Yeah.
So you can almost
Well, you have to unfortunately leave it up to the people, and then the people aren't going to vote because they don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Americans are
the masses are assets,
I
right?
love America, right? But
Yeah,
they're
very uneducated.
uneducated. I would say 25% of Americans are educated at a college degree and more. And I'll say this: college degrees in the U.S. is
they don't teach about those things.
It's
either.
garbage.
Yeah, they don't teach about those things. So a lot of people, like, maybe you have a college degree, but you don't understand. You understand the inner workings of a business. You don't understand politics. You don't understand all these things, right? So
It's. I think guys like you and I were a rarity.
I mean, there's a lot out there, but it's not. We're definitely not the general public, right?
Listen, I would never put myself in the general public. I've always thought.
Yeah.
I've always, even at 5th grade, 4th grade,
Yeah.
I'm talking to adults about things. People are like, wait, you're like, how old are you? I'm like, well, guess what, mother.
Yeah, I mean,
motherfucker?
and it seems, I don't know. I mean, it's, I don't think social media or whatever clickbait news and stuff is making things easier
Oh my
because
God,
it's
clickbait
really off the
news.
rails, right? So
It's like I'm like I watch being in Asia, like our like the news I get on TV is about 26 hours old, right?
yeah,
Or
sure,
something like that,
sure,
right?
sure.
I'm watching nightly news from a day and a half ago, technically,
Yep.
but it's not, for CBS and NBC. Just 30-minute snippets, or 15-minute, depending, right?
Yeah,
It's like most Americans aren't even getting that.
yeah,
Like, we're
Yeah.
getting opinionated stuff. Like, I'm at the same time I'm reading. I'm using news aggregators like Flipboard,
mm,
and I'm reading like boom, 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 and you see the art and you see the title. It's complete garbage.
yeah, and potentially fake news. Some of those aggregators, right? I mean, that's the challenge.
Yeah, I try to look at
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
Obviously,
you're smart, right? You gotta get it right. Yeah.
I've been noticing a lot of aggregators. Like, listen, I think the PR, like companies under some of these big politicians, are crazy. Like, I was like,
yeah.
why is Fox News?
Yeah.
I'm showing my feed a lot more about Fox News.
Yeah,
lately.
I'm sure they're paying a lot of advertising money, right?
A lot of
Yeah.
PR, man.
Yeah,
There's
for
some
sure,
PR
for sure.
money. Like, you wonder, like, why am I seeing this girl from LSU, some gymnast,
Yeah,
in the news?
right.
Like,
yeah.
some Olivia Dunn. Listen, she's a
No
good-looking
idea.
girl.
I'm
Don't
sure.
get me wrong.
I'm
Blonde
sure she
hair,
is.
blue white. She has a PR machine to back her.
Yeah, which is paid by Fox. I mean,
I
I'm not
don't
kidding.
know.
I'm just fucking around,
It
right?
could
Yeah.
be paid for someone, right? And that's, and I think, with news, right?
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, if you have a good PR engine, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you do something bad.
Yeah, if you're willing to spend the money, right? It's
Yeah.
that's the thing, right? I don't know. I mean, that big box news stuff just
Listen, I'm
have to
not
s-
a big fan.
I have disdain for it.
Yeah, I'm not. Listen,
Yeah.
I remember when CNN headline news was literally just the headline news
Yeah, yeah.
before they started doing opinionated stuff.
You know, and sometimes I think like I don't know. I mean, I feel like there should be a pool of money. Look, I'm just gonna go out on the limb and say like I feel like there should be an allocated amount of money that goes to news agencies, and I don't know how you allocate it, but so that people can express free thinking on a non-advertisement based
Yeah.
concept, right?
Well,
Which is what podcasting is
yeah.
sort of done,
Or
but not really.
what's that news or the whatever where where people pay for a subscription and then you
I'm
like
not sure.
bloggers and all that. Like Matt Taibbi's on that.
Ah, okay, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and I get it. You know, like if you want a news, you're gonna pay for it.
yeah.
Ah,
It's a bit challenging because I mean, how do you filter it? Like, how do you, and who's
also,
the editor behind it and all those
right?
things, right? Yeah,
Yeah, like the guy goes on Rogan, right, every so often. He's
yeah.
on at least twice that I remember.
Yeah, no, okay, I know the guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he's cool. Yeah,
yeah.
I've listened to stuff. He's good. He's a
I
good guy. Yeah,
I
he's smart,
get it.
smart guy, smart guy. Yeah,
I mean,
he's a journalist.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the reason why CNN and Fox News because they, it's those advertisers that really like, oh, you're gonna talk bad about whatever.
But it's mostly big pharma, which is the scary thing.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's like 75% big pharma
Right.
on the most news outlets.
I'm gonna test you right now.
Yeah.
What was, and I'm sure you could say it. What was
Yeah.
the first pharma commercial?
I have no idea.
Come on, you're a man. I'm gonna give you hints. You're a man.
I have no idea still.
Viagra, dude.
Oh shit!
that was the
No
first
kidding.
pharma commercial.
No shit.
But now you look at pharma, whatever, right?
Who owns
Like,
Viagra? I haven't any
like you don't see a Viagra, but you like it's literally like
Is it part
littered.
of those big conglomerates? I have no idea.
Pharma, Viagra,
Yeah,
Pfizer.
of course.
Yeah, but yeah,
That's
I mean,
funny.
you look at all of them, and
Yeah.
it's like
My hemo drugs, hemophilia drug is owned by Pfizer.
yeah. Listen, I get it. Listen, I think it's all BS. Like,
No, I mean, look, I mean, okay, for me, big pharma has saved my life multiple occasions, right?
oh, dude,
So
Big Pharma saved my life. I get
yeah,
it. I get it.
but you hear some of these guys, these won't call pundit, but people that talk about how big pharma. I think your pour is bigger than mine by a substantial
Well,
amount.
you mother effer.
These
I
guys
like your complaint.
in big pharma, whether they're so my brother's he's a doctor, right? And he's always been a proponent of big pharma, and he's working on drugs and stuff like that as well. Not drugs, but
No, listen, this is a drug, so whatever.
yeah. But it's interesting to see how other people think about some of these big pharma drugs, how they're not very effective and they're influencing the FDA.
Oh,
and
the
all these things,
30%,
yeah,
like efficacy, but then they push it. I mean, that's
right,
a whole
right.
that's a whole different thing,
Yeah,
man.
which is outside of my wheelhouse, to be fair.
Oh yeah, all of us, right?
I just like to drink whiskey. Yeah,
listen, this is one of my favorite drugs, baby.
yeah.
But
that's right.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, right? If I remember right, Viagra was supposed to be like a blood pressure thing,
Ah, right, yeah.
right?
That's
But instead, it was like, oh, it's giving you guys hard
side effects it gives you hard on, right? Yeah, that's
So it's like,
funny.
oh, well, you know, what, Evan, let's go.
Let's
hard-ons.
repackage this thing.
That's right.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right. So yeah, I mean, and it's like what's the statins? You know, for people that are supposed to have like heart issues, they take statins.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's supposed to be for people like really have heart issues. They
Okay.
take statins. And
Interesting.
it's actually worse for people.
Yeah,
anything.
Yeah. No, I've listened to some guys talk about how a lot of these big pharma guys are creating just like really actually bad drugs, but they
Yeah.
push it and FDA approves it. Fucking-
Eat better.
yeah, that's right.
Eat. That's the key.
Correct.
Eat better. People. So I've asked people, Frank, what do you do with your liver? Blah blah blah. I eat cauliflower.
Yeah.
I eat broccoli.
Mm.
I eat a lot less sugar.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
refined sugar is pretty much out of my body, except for a treat here and there.
Yep.
I eat a lot less bread.
Yep.
Because we've only been eating bread regularly for the last 120 years.
Yep. Correct.
Because you had to have a bakery right by you.
Correct. Yeah.
Not-
Yeah.
so-
And it wasn't the same bread that we're eating. It was
Oh,
sourdough bread. and-
completely
yeah, very
different, right? Like, we're not getting all these easy carbs.
Correct. Correct.
So how do I keep healthy compared to what? Listen, 10 years ago, I'll honestly say 10 years ago, my body was more unhealthy than it is now.
Yeah. Yep.
I
No, it
could
makes sense. Makes
I
sense.
could safely say that.
Yeah, and I think it's very logical, right? What you put in your body is what you're gonna get out
Garbage in, garbage out,
yeah,
man.
100%.
I mean, listen, this
Yeah.
this shirt right here, right? This was tighter on me of just a few years ago, and now it's running on me like I could go a little bit less.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have been. Yeah, I agree. I mean, whiskey aside, much more focused on, and I think as you get older, right, we all do focus on these inputs quite a
Should,
bit more.
right?
Yeah. Um,
I mean, I do miss ice cream though.
I eat ice cream, but I make it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I miss the sweets. I miss,
I
but
miss
when
it
I
so
say
much.
that, I
Yeah.
mean I'm not like I'm gorging, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's like I'll take like half a bite of something. I'll tell my
Yeah.
girlfriend, like she gets some strawberry Korean ice cream.
Yeah.
Like, all right, let me get a little.
Yeah. 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 A dabble, right? No, I mean, I definitely find that ice cream for me is one of those things where I really enjoy still. Um, Especially if I'm off the accelerator on the whiskey, then I really want ice cream. Um, Otherwise, ice cream and pastries is two things for me. But yeah, yeah, but I definitely think that it comes down to really what you put in your body as far as food wise that
Yeah.
makes a difference.
I think guys like us that like to have a drink,
Yeah,
right? I think we need to, you know, uh, okay. What's really bad for your body? Sugar, carbs, alcohol.
we can skip the last one, but go ahead.
What's the other one?
I said
Alcohol.
we can skip the last
Yeah,
one.
but if you're doing all three at once, hard,
Ah, okay.
it's bad for you, right?
Yep.
You lessen sugar, you lessen carbs, you keep alcohol up, right?
And to be fair, and I don't have any science to back this up, but I would think that rice is actually still better. No, non-GMO rice is still better than wheat.
But you got to remember, rice now is different than rice what it was, right? Because rice what it
Yeah.
was like 100 years ago still had the germ, not the shell. It's like the germ, right? It was all brown rice.
But you don't want the shell, right? The shell's not good for you either.
No, but you take the shell, there's still a germ underneath.
Ah, okay. Don't know about
Oh yeah.
that. I might trust you.
So you have to still go through that before you get the white rice.
So there's like a additional husk in there.
Yes.
Oh, okay, got it.
So it's a different rice than it was 100 years ago.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean,
Listen,
we've
white rice.
non-GMO GMO stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where
I still think white rice is still better than wheat, to be honest.
as far- wheat as a grain.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, I don't know.
I don't know that. I have nothing to back it up. It doesn't matter. I'm out of my wheelhouse here. But
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think rice should be looked at more.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
mean, Japanese people have been doing rice for a long time.
long time. Yeah.
But what rice were they eating? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, if you're eating rice from China, maybe we should consider.
yeah,
Just
well,
my experience in China. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would tell you, like, my family had, I remember getting rice fresh from the farm.
Don't trust anything in China. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. Besides what he's making.
Yeah.
Listen, he's making good stuff.
No. I mean, because we validate it. Yeah.
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 Listen, I get, like, I don't want to, of course, eat rice from China, or I don't want to, but it's how it's made, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's the key for anything, right? Like, if you're gonna drink beer, you don't want to drink beer from crap.
Yeah, 100%. I'll tell you what freaks me out about like global supply chain is one of my former employees, one of my lieutenants before. She used to work for
The Kappa regime.
no, just
That's not a Kappa.
yeah, no, but very experienced lady, very smart lady, and she used to work for before working for me, she used to work for a Dutch company that would buy product from China, ship it to the Netherlands, wash it, repackage it as made in Netherlands.
That's just dirty.
Dirty shit, man. But
'Cause
that's what scares me about global supply chain, especially when
yeah,
it comes to food.
I know some Jewish guys. Like I'm talking about American Jews. Like this is like
Okay.
99, 2000.
Okay.
So which was made illegal.
Yeah.
You couldn't do this anymore. But what they did was, oh, I love my Jews. Don't get me wrong, I love my Jews. They would literally like, oh, this is made in China.
Hmm.
Like, but the box
Yep.
they would have was made in the USA.
Oh, that's so bad.
As dirty,
That's
right?
so
Like
bad.
so, like the packages
Yeah.
inside was made in China, but the
Yeah.
box is made, which is now an illegal thing to do.
Yeah.
But in 99, 2000,
That's cute.
yeah,
That's cute. Yeah, if you want to make a buck, it's cute. Yeah, but it's the agriculture thing that freaks me out because
we got
y-
fake rice and like we get fake rice from China here.
yeah, for sure. But I mean, and Chinese you want to pick on, right? Because they're created.
Listen, they're dirty motherfuckers.
Well, I mean, I think China's, you know,
Well, you
the,
have dealings, but
the business
listen,
culture in China is about. I mean, it depends on who you're working with, right? There's not always they're not all bad companies, but the general business culture is make a buck quick.
yeah, because yeah, you can't.
We call it hit and run business.
Yeah,
So
that's how China is.
get your money right.
But I'm sorry,
Get your money
but that's what I'm saying is dirty.
Excuse me. Yeah, but okay. So from being in China for a long time, I understand it because nobody gives a fuck about you. You're in a country of 1.3
1.6
billion
billion
people.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or less, post COVID, or in COVID. And so nobody gives a fuck about you. Like you're a digit, and you're gonna evaporate some stage. And so if you don't take care of yourself, nobody's gonna give a shit about you. So they're not looking at it from the same perspective we're looking at. We're looking at it as like, okay, you should be a good person. You have this social responsibility. Fuck off. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And so I get it because I've seen it. Right? You queue up in China, and people are they're always jockeying for position, and that's the general vibe in China. If you don't look out for yourself, nobody's gonna look. If it's not a family thing, fuck all. Nobody's gonna care about you. And so it makes sense why people respond that way because that's what they're used to. They're used to from the time they're itty bitty to the time they
Yeah.
grow up. That's what they're used to. So it makes sense to me why they're like that. Outside of China, that nobody understands that. They don't get it because like, what the hell is wrong
How
with
about
you?
India?
India is much more complex.
Okay. Yeah, because that's almost
You,
like thousands of years of.
well, you have the caste system, you have the religion, you have all these things. You have the local democracy, you have
Yeah.
local
Okay.
politics. I don't understand India, but I know India is very complex, much
Okay.
more complex. But China is much more straightforward than India. China is basically money, it's king. That's it. Simple.
Yeah.
Money first. It's money, family, me, like that in China. It's quite
Listen, I
straightforward.
have my issues with Chinese businesses, as you know.
Yeah, but even Phil Chinese is a bit different than the mainland Chinese. Is a bit more straightforward. It's just money. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Um, but I understand why the China guys are about the hit and run business because they know if I don't get it now, it's not gonna be there
It's not
tomorrow.
going to be there. Yeah.
And so
So the whole thing about when American people say, "Oh, China," these people are talking about their name generations. It's a lot less about that anymore.
it's not about that. I mean,
But
from
that's
from
okay.
my experience, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not a professional. I'm a novice. I'm a learner. But from what I've experienced, I would say that most people, I would say it's Japan,
Yeah.
Taiwan, yeah, certainly Japan. Some families in Taiwan, but I would say China is not the China I've experienced. China is about some families, maybe the higher up ones, not higher up, but the more focused on generational wealth and those things are more
Now.
focused on the family. But my experience in China is overseas experience, so it's
Yeah.
more export experience,
Yeah.
not local
Yeah.
stuff. So that's a bit different. But I super get that because name is everything,
Yeah.
and in Chinese culture, name is everything as well. Export culture is different than that. Um, but what I've seen actually is in the last probably 10 years, China has become much more focused on reputation.
Okay.
at least in my sector in electronics, much more focused on reputation and much more focused on building your brand versus trying to get that hit and run business. So hit and run is definitely, I would say, from my perspective and what I've experienced, is much more focused on the consumer side.
Right.
So it's business to consumer versus B2B. B2B is much more focused on developing that relationship.
Of course.
And I would say that the Taiwanese, if you compare Taiwan and China, Taiwan was the first guys to kind of educate the China guys on that. And yeah, but honestly, for me, China's a great place to do business. I really like do business in China. China is a great place to do business from a manufacturing side. They are 100% the manufacturing hub of the world. There's nobody else that even comes close to beating them, and won't come for quite a while. India is the only place that has a chance of beating China. There's nobody even comes close to them.
I think with this, call it a.
Sure.
I think we
wrap.
Wrap it up. Let's do another. We could do another one. I think we went really heavy.
Sorry.
No, dude. That's the stuff I nerd out on. The
Yeah.
economics, politics side.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, let's finish this bottle.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Yep.
guys. Thank you very much.
Enjoyed it. Next time.
Next time.